CST.
It is our pleasure to welcome you back here for another edition of Saints Tonight here on CST with my Super Bowl champ Scott Shanley and Hall of Famer Deuce McAllister. I'm Victor Howell. Our Saints insider Mike Neighbors joins us momentarily. He'll have reports from the Dome. Eric Ritchie's going to take us behind enemy lines from a game that, well, they played it, and I don't know if you come out of this game with more answers than you do questions or vice versa, but as Scott and I were talking about a little earlier, Deuce, and you were on the air, a win's a win. Right now you're 1-1. You'd rather that than 0-2, but sluggish, ugly, does it really matter, the fact that you got the win?
Doesn't feel like a clean win,
yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's a win, and it's always hard to get the first one. Once you get the first one out of the way, then you know at least how hard you have to work from a mentality standpoint. But there are a lot of things that this team needs to clean up to really feel good about themselves. I think the best thing when you look at it, hey, look, we won the game. That's what the most important thing is. But we know we have a lot of work and things to clean as far as to get better and be the team that you want to be.
Scott, I asked you this morning how tough it is when you come off a loss like what you had 1 week ago to be able to flush a loss like that and get back on the field. When you watch the game today, any lingering effects from what happened 1 week ago, or is this just one of those where you just got to get those wheels moving?
Yeah, you just got to get the wheels moving. I don't think there were any lingering effects. I look at the defense, and we questioned a lot of things about them a week ago. They came out, they started the game on fire, got the crowd into it. We're playing with a lot of energy and enthusiasm. It was the offense who started sluggish, and then it kind of carried over to the defense throughout the game. But I thought the defense, for the most part, they were much improved from last week. It was just one of those games. Sometimes games turn into like they did last week with a shootout. This time it was more of a defensive battle. And in the end, like we said, a win is a win. Never mistake professional sports as the business of winning. You must win games. Losing causes doubt. Winning creates confidence. And I think winning, no matter how you win, this team will be confident going forward.
We talked about Cleveland actually coming into town with momentum because they're off to their best start since 2004 at 0-1, but they leave New Orleans kicking themselves. Literally, as we're about to show you, let's take you to the highlights of what unraveled this afternoon there at the Superdome with the Browns in town. The Saints trying to beat them down. The first time since 1990. Here we go. 3rd and 7 in the first quarter. Drew Brees back to pass to Michael Thomas. Thomas with the first down, but then this happens. He has 2 fumbles on his career through the first 2 years. He has 2 fumbles through the first 2 games of this season. Deuce, is it just trying to do a little too much, or is it a clean strip?
I think it was a clean strip. I mean, because when you look at it, it looked like he was almost reaching out for him, but from a different angle, he never even gets a chance to reach out for it. So there you just have to take care of the ball.
Cleveland winds up not being able to do much with it, but Zane Gonzalez comes in and kicks it from 39 yards out, and the Browns have the early lead, 3-0, taking advantage of the turnover. Saints get the ball back, 2nd and 8 from the 27. Alvin Kamara on the receiving end of this Drew Brees pass, fights through the tackle, picks up a little better than 10 yards, and it's a first down for the Saints. 1st and 10 now from their 37. Brees to Traquan Smith, the rookie out of Central Florida. Congratulations, his first NFL reception. It's good for 18 yards. Let's hold on to that ball. After pass interference, the Saints are knocking on the door at the 2. 1st and goal. Brees to Benjamin Watson. Just overthrown. Deuce, was this a route issue, just an overthrown pass?
No, I think it's probably a little bit of both. Drew is expect him to be on that back line, that end line. He's got to get back there, and he kind of was easing through.
Just a missed opportunity. 3rd and goal now. Kamara gets it into the end zone, but wait, you see the flag. It comes back holding on the play. As you take another look, it's Traquan. You see it on the front end right there. It looks like they're dancing, but you can see where the hold is, and that's where the flag comes right there, the official at the bottom of your screen. So knocking on the door for a touchdown, the Saints settle for a Will Lutz 30-yard field goal on an 11-play drive that took better than 540 and ate up 63 yards. But as we head to the second, we're only tied at 3. In the second quarter, we pick it up with the Saints having the ball. 3rd and 6 at their own 49. Brees finds Ted Ginn Jr. right at the line of scrimmage. He fumbles. Another turnover. Got a case of the yips here, and we know Sean Payton Deuce does not like when he starts seeing the ball on the turf.
Here is a Peanuts punch. That ball is punched out. The defender doesn't even, there's one holding on to him, but the other defender, he comes right through and he punches that ball out, and you've got to be able to hold on to it. And Sean let both of his top receivers hear about it.
You can see he's not happy. 4th and 1 now. Cleveland's going to go for it, try to steal some of that momentum. Duke Johnson, he needs one. He loses one. Saints defense stands tall. As Scott talked about, Saints defense came out ready to play after giving up 5.5 bills last week to Tampa Bay. Saints get the ball back first and 16 from the 32. Breeze to Michael Thomas. He's not losing this one. 25 yards on the game. It's now 1st and 10 from Cleveland's 43. And Breeze finds Kamara. Boy, he hit the brakes. It was like Top Gun. Would hit the brakes and let him fly right by. He hits the brakes, winds up gaining 14 yards, and the Saints are moving. 3rd and 7 from the 15. And Breeze gets sacked by Larry Ogunjobi. It's a loss of 11 yards. So once again, the Saints are going the right direction. One play sends them back the wrong direction. Will Lutz comes in, and from 44 yards, he misses. So we are still tied at 3. Cleveland gets the ball back now, 2nd and 1. Tyrod Taylor, former LSU Tiger Jarvis Landry. You know he was amped up to be back in the dome playing in this one. 14 yards for the Browns and gets the first down. Now 1st and 10 from the Saints 43. Landry again across the middle. This time a little stiff arm, gets it just about the 20-yard line on a 22-yard reception. But the drive stalls. It's now 4th and 10. Here comes Gonzalez again. And he's true from 39 yards. A 7-play drive that took 45 yards and 221. The Saints have 134 yards of total offense in the first half. Cleveland, 106. And they have a 3-point lead at the break. In the third quarter, not a lot to show you, but this. Cleveland had 4 third-down conversions in the game. 3 of them come on the 1 touchdown drive for him. And here you go. 3rd and 4 from the 40, Antonio Callaway for 18 yards. 3rd and 5 from the 17, Duke Johnson, but it's pass interference. Scott, is this out of position or just knowing that you're about to get beat?
Well, to me, in the first place, I think it was kind of a ticky-tack call. I wish they would let these DBs play a little bit more, but this is the calls you're getting throughout the NFL. They didn't like that right arm on the receiver, and that's why he got the call. He pinned that arm down, and anytime you do that, it just depends on who the crew is that week. A little ticky-tack.
And you can see where he was standing in the end zone, so Cleveland gets the ball at the goal line, and then 3rd and goal from the 1. Carlos Hyde takes it in. 12-play, 79-yard drive that ate about 6.5 minutes. So Zane Gonzalez comes in for the extra point. Oh, boy. Here we go now. He's going to become part of the big story here for the Browns. He misses the extra point. A combined 26 plays total in the third quarter. The Saints ran 8 for a total of 19 yards. It's 12-3 Cleveland as we take it to the 4th. And this is where the game starts to take its turn. 4th and 6 from the New Orleans 26. Gonzalez, who just missed the extra point, shanks this one to the left. Misses a field goal opportunity. It is still 12-3 Cleveland. Saints get the ball. Can they take advantage? 1st and 10 from the 34. Take a look at this Alvin Kamara rush. Right side, then up the middle for 18 yards. It's the longest rush of the day and the only one for the Saints that went north of 10 yards. 3rd and 3 from the 41, and Breeze, once again, introduced to Larry Ogunjobi. A loss of 9 yards, but wait. There's a penalty. Illegal contact on the Browns defense. Scott, let's take a look at what happened here.
Yeah, again, this crew is not letting guys play much. It's illegal contact on the field. 9 times out of 10, you probably don't get that call, but this crew was all over the hand checking today.
So Breeze gets sacked, but the Saints still have life. 2nd and 5 from the 19, and Breeze finds Michael Thomas. That's good for 14 yards. 2nd and goal now from the 2, and Breeze to Thomas again. 9 plays, 66 yards. It's a quick insight to Thomas, who gets it into the end zone. It took 5.5 minutes. It's now 12-10. Cleveland is up by a 2-run homer. Now the Browns on 2nd and 4 from the 30. Taylor looking for somebody, goes across the middle, and he's picked off here by Marcus Williams. It's the first turnover for the Saints defense on the season, as they weren't able to get one against the Bucs 1 week ago, and it took them 3 quarters and some time in the 4th quarter to finally get one. Scott, the read here and how they took advantage.
Just beautiful read, playing center field by Marcus, reading the quarterback's eyes, made a play on the ball, and sealed the game, or made a big play in the game right here. The receiver had the corner beat. That's why you play middle of the field as a free safety and read the quarterback's eyes.
Time for that photo, because it was a team effort, and it gives the Saints offense great field position. 1st and goal from the 5, and Breeze doesn't waste any time. Right back to Michael Thomas. What an outstanding game he had again. Can't guard Mike. Another touchdown. It's 16-12 New Orleans. Now they're going to go for 2. Kamara Off the little pitch, he goes right side. He's going to waltz his way into the end zone, and it's 18-12. And in the fourth quarter, you heard Deuce on the Saints radio network. You got to wake up. He was keeping it family friendly, too. Come on, you got to do anything. Finally, the Saints gave the crowd a reason to cheer, and they came alive. But once again, here comes Cleveland now. 2nd and 10 from the 25. Taylor hits Rashard Higgins, 23 yards. Now 2nd and 2. Taylor sacked by Cam Jordan. We talked about some of this morning, and Scott was talking about the defense and needing to see that front line make a play. Cam gets the sack. It's a loss of 10. 4th and 5 from the 47. Are you kidding me? Antonio Callaway gets behind the defense on a 47-yard completion on 4th down. We're tied at 18. Scott, what happened here on getting beat?
Just you can't ever let the offense get behind you. I don't think Crawley thought that Tyrod probably had the arm strength or the accuracy to put this ball exactly where he put it. The receiver had the speed to get behind him, and I think that surprised him too. Just a perfect throw and a perfect catch, but as a DB, you got to know in that situation, don't let anybody get behind you.
So the Browns tie it up, and here comes once again the sub-story of the game. Mr. Gonzalez comes in and misses another extra point. That's 2 PATs he's missed and that earlier field goal. So we're tied at 18. 2nd down now for the Saints from their own 33. And Breeze goes to Ted Ginn, and watch what Ginn does. Turns it into a 42-yarder inside the 25-yard line. The Saints can't do anything else with it, but Will Lutz comes in. 4th and 11 from the 26, and Lutz is true. 44 yards on the field goal. It's 21-18. Saints have a 3-point lead, but there's time on the clock, and Cleveland has an opportunity. 1st and 10 from their 25. Jarvis Landry across the middle. That's good for 25. It takes it near midfield. 1st and 10 now at midfield, in fact, and Taylor goes to Antonio Callaway. 16 yards on this completion, and he gets it to the sideline and out of bounds. So it's 1st and 10 from the 34, but time's running out. Let's go. Field goal to tie it and send it into overtime. Zane Gonzalez, who's missed 2 PATs and 1 field goal, has now missed 2 PATs and 2 field goals. This one had the distance, but it was way wide right, and that's how this ball game ends. In the fourth quarter, the Saints had 122 yards and had the ball for better than 10 minutes and 15 seconds in the quarter. Mike Thomas, 12 receptions today, 89 yards. Remember, he had 16 last week. Drew Brees, not the total yards we saw 1 week ago, but still efficient. 28 of 35, 243 passing yards, had the 2 touchdowns. Still waiting on that rushing game to show up, just 62 yards. But as the guys said to start the program, in this business, it's all about getting the wins. And the Saints hold on for a 21-18 victory over the Browns.
I'm not real happy right now. Honestly, I'm glad we won, but as a coach, you see enough things, man, that'll keep you from winning more important games. We've got a lot of work to do. I think there's some things that have come up from an execution. Well, the turnovers first. That's two a game. And how many takeaways did we have? 1. All right, so we're minus 3 on the year so far after 2 weeks. So that bothers me. The mental errors bother me. You know, and the situational football. You know, towards the end of the game, we're in an outside man technique, and we let a guy catch a pass, get out of bounds to set up a field goal. Those things bother me. You know, those are things that we've got to be better at.
Some may describe this game as ugly. How would you describe this game and this victory?
The win is a win. We're going to go get it correct. We're going to go watch the film tomorrow, get correct what we need to correct, and move forward. We're shooting ourselves in the foot. It's a faceless opponent. We don't care who we play.
I heard about it. Sometimes it's hard not to, when people remind you, sometimes it's hard to miss it. But, you know, I feel like we won today. That's the biggest thing.
Well, I think when you heard Sean Payton there talking off the top, dudes, it goes back to what we talked about at the beginning of the program. It wasn't pretty at all. It was very lackluster and boring, quite honestly, for 3 quarters. I'm listening to you in the fourth quarter. You were begging the Saints to get off the bench and do something. They did enough to get the win, but you can tell Sean not pleased with the fact that how they're not being 1-1 and how it looks.
Well, you look for one player to make a play, and what was interesting, I think the spark came from Taysom Hill being a returner as far as the kickoff is concerned, but there's still other plays left to be made by a lot of different people, and, you know, if it takes that, then so be it, but you have to have it happen in the first quarter for this team because they're way too talented to go out there and play like they did today.
Certainly found a way to make some plays in the end, though, and let's start with the defense. We talked about the fact they gave up almost 5.5 bills to Tampa Bay 1 week ago. You knew they had to rebound. You finally get that first turnover, Scott, and let's start right there because they needed it when they're trying to fight their way back. Cleveland was still able to find a way to make some key plays, but this wound up being a very key play for the defense.
Yeah, it might have been the biggest play in the game because at that point you swing the field position, and these low-scoring defensive battles, field position is at a premium. So if you can get a takeaway, it changes everything. I just thought the pursuit and the aggression and the effort by the defense was there all day to start the game, and they remained that way throughout the game.
And then you see him getting the pressure here on Taylor, and the big thing about some of these plays, as I mentioned, Cleveland only had 4 third down conversions. 1 came in the first quarter, and then they converted every third down on that third quarter drive that got them the score, the last one being the one that they scored on. So it's tough to keep trying to have a chance to win, especially for a team that doesn't have that confidence. They don't have a win in who knows how long, right? So they can't build up any confidence because the Saints defense wouldn't allow them to stay on the field, unlike what we saw a week ago when the Saints defense seemingly couldn't get off of it.
Yeah, when you give up chunk plays as a defense, and by chunk plays, that's 20, 30-yard plays, and the ball's going over your head constantly. It happened to the Saints today late in the game, which was unfortunate. But when you do that early in the game, it deflates the defense. It gets everybody questioning the calls. It gets everybody questioning their teammates if they're doing the right job. So I think just to start the game, the energy, the effort, the angles they were taking, the tackling, you could just tell they were playing with a renewed focus and energy that wasn't there last week.
Cleveland had that one big play, that 47-yard touchdown. We saw Tampa Bay gash the Saints last week a couple times with big plays, but certainly the defense brought that number down. So, Deuce, let's go to the other side of the ball. Some of the missed opportunities, and we talked about it. We know Sean Payton hates the turnovers. You heard him giving the numbers there. We've seen Thomas with 2 fumbles in 2 games. He had 2 through the first 2 years of his career with the Saints, and we start here early on. As you mentioned, from the game in the stadium, it looked like he was trying to reach out, but this was a clean strip from behind, not able to hold on to the ball. But it wasn't just Thomas; it was Ginn Jr. later in this ball game as well.
Yeah, and on that one, you just have to squeeze it. You have to know that the defenders really. You have one guy that's trying to tackle you, but he's waiting on the help to come to be able to punch it out. And those, you just have to be able to squeeze it.
And these are those missed opportunities again, because you can see Watson was wide open in the end zone, but we look at it again with the pass, and it's just right over his finger. He barely gets a fingertip on it, but you can see there's not a Brown defender anywhere near him. Then Alvin Kamara with the touchdown here, a great misdirection play that he gets into the end zone. But there you saw the flag. Why? Because we saw that holding call, and you'll see it here again with the official who calls it right on the line, and it's happening right in front of him.
And that probably was holding on 2 guys. I know it was Josh Hill as well as Traquan. And Traquan, that guy's not going to make that play. You can let him go. Once you feel him losing, you're losing him, let him go.
And then you had that one missed opportunity from Lutz from 44 yards out. So certainly the Saints left a lot on the table, as you can see, with the missed opportunities. But Cleveland left more, and certainly their kicker and all the response after the game really came from the classiness of Lutz and Thomas Morstead, who went to the Cleveland bench knowing what they're going through with a great sign of sportsmanship to talk to their kicker and say, look, we're in a tough position. This is a tough job. Hang in there. But in the end, it was the Saints kicker that was able to split the uprights. The Saints get the 3-point win, and afterwards Mike Neighbors had a chance to talk to the Saints kicker, Will Lutz.
I think what separates the guys who are in this league and who aren't are the ones who can handle these situations. I didn't have a great performance. I wasn't at the top of my game. And, you got to be able to get it done when things aren't going right. So I thought we handled the situation well, and the 3 of us did a great job on that last field goal and meeting Thomas and Zach, and it's a great win.
Well, as a kicker, you always want a second chance. Obviously, if you miss one earlier in the game, how satisfying is it to get that second chance and make the most of it?
Yeah, I'd lie if I said that it was not a rough 3 quarters for me. You sit there and you try to get over a kick, but when it's just handling a miss this early in the season is not easy. And I think the whole game, though, in the back of my head, I knew with how close it was that it was going to be decided by a couple points. And I'm always ready when my number's called, and fortunately we got it done.
To that point, when they missed the extra point, it seemed like a game-winning kick was going to be the difference. Do you think about that at all on the sideline?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you look up and you see that it's going to be, I believe it was tied when we made that kick, but I think at the time I was like, okay, so it's a 2-point game. And the way that game was back and forth, it's tough to keep your heart rate down. But like I said, it was in the back of my head the whole day after I missed that first kick that I was going to get no chance.
Mentally, when you line up for that game-winning kick after missing earlier, you feel stronger, you feel more locked in, just trying to, because you get a shot at a second chance of redemption.
Yeah, like I said, I try my best to treat every kick the same. Now, obviously, I'd be lying. I said I didn't need to make that kick. So, I tried to keep my mind off of it. I went through my normal routine. I told Thomas, let's put it through the middle, and we did.
What does this mean for you guys moving forward now?
it's a big win. I mean, you saw what happened last year. We came off to a slow start. We won a game, and things turned around quick. So get back to work tomorrow and keep it going.
Appreciate your time. Well, let's Saints kicker getting a second chance and making the most of it. Back to you guys in the studio.
You certainly couldn't blame some folks in the Dome if they were cheering for the orange and brown because they had some players there who used to wear the colors of purple and gold. Eric Ritchie takes us behind enemy lines later on Saints Tonight. And Tampa Bay, Philadelphia. This one played in Florida, and Fitzpatrick was at it again. The numbers behind the final scores. The Saints improved to 1-1 on the season, 21-18 win over the Cleveland Browns. We talked about the offensive efficiency last year's Deuce. As Scott and I were talking about this morning, you tell me that Drew Brees is going to miss 7 passes, throw for north of 400 yards, and have 40 points. I'm going to ask you, how much did the Saints win by? Well, today, 275, a lot lower. But again, when that defense stepped up a little better, efficiency when they needed it to get the win, even though it wasn't pretty.
Well, it's not pretty. You know, you go back and you look at the red zone, they're right at 50%. What concerns you, obviously, are turnovers, then that third down percentage, and you can also harp about the rushing yards. This team has got to do a better job of running the football. I thought there were some holes out there that they missed that, hey, look, in the NFL, it's not going to be wide open every time. You've got to be able to stick your head in there and get 3 or 4 hard yards, but at the end of the day, it's a W.
We're going to get ready to talk about the rushing offense in a minute, obviously, which will be right in your wheelhouse. But let me talk to you guys about this. The Saints finished last year 19th in the league, 38% third down conversion. So far through 2 games, they're at 33%, somewhere around 22 or 23, but certainly lower portion. At what point does that start to become a major concern when today we talked about the defense holding Cleveland to 4 of 12, but the Saints were only 3 of 12 on third down conversions? At what point does that become a major focus and or a major concern?
I think a lot of it, when you look at it as far as conversion is concerned, they've had turnovers, I think, on 3 third down opportunities, and those are fumbles. And it was when they had converted those opportunities. To Ted Ginn, they were going to be short. But Mike Thomas, they had already gotten the first down, and then he fumbles the football away. That doesn't help you. You have to be able to find some rhythm, and I think what would help them if they had some balance as far as running the football.
And Scott, to kind of tail in off of that one too, Drew Brees sacked 3 times today. All 3 sacks came on third downs. One of them they got back because Cleveland had that penalty, but still they were giving it up the middle, and on third downs you had no opportunity because he was losing yards.
Yeah, just not staying on the field. And I can't tell you, every Thursday I sat in those meeting rooms, and I know how important third downs is to the head coach of the New Orleans Saints football team. He is huge on third down conversion, offensively and defensively stopping it, because it's all about possessions. Staying on the field. The longer you can stay on the field, the more yards you accumulate, the more chance for points you can obtain, and that's why we're going to talk about the rush offense. But when you only rush for 62 yards, it's because your third down conversions are so low. You're not staying on the field long enough.
Before we talk about the rushing game, let's talk about a receiver that you really can't guard, Mike, because right now Michael Thomas is just showing why he is one of the elites in the league. 16 catches for $180 last week, 12 catches today for 89 yards. And Deuce, I know, just like his quarterback, he focuses on the drop last week, the fumble last week, the fumble today. But he has 28 catches, obliterated the NFL record for catches in the first 2 games of the season. What is making him so special that nobody seems to be able to stop him on the field?
A lot of the routes that he's running, he probably traditionally hadn't run a lot of. We've always seen Mike Thomas run the quick slants and be able to, Drew just gives him a screen almost type of throw. Now he's pushing the football down the field. Here he's just being I call it bully ball. I mean, he catches this ball and he's going to go run over 2 guys. His receivers, they just almost stalk block and they just get in front of guys. Here, he's just going up for the ball. I mean, Ward has no chance. This is just a jump ball, goes up and find it. And I mean, he is finding different ways to be able to get open and go take the ball out of the air.
Well, we've certainly seen some big highlights from him, and obviously he's become Drew Brees' go-to guy. And today we saw a couple nice big plays from Ginn. But if you're not getting it from all the wide receivers, this goes to Scott's point, I guess, about third downs. You also need that balance. Okay, a couple weeks ago, you've got movement all over the place after you set the roster. You're bringing running backs off the practice squad to the big squad, back down to the practice squad. You're moving them around. I asked Scott this morning, were we going to see a healthier dose of number 41 today out of the backfield? But you had 43 rushing yards 1 week ago. You just got over north of 60, I believe, today. What's going on with the Saints running game right now? Is the absence of Mark Ingram that big that the Saints can't find that balance with the running game?
Well, you need some rhythm from that group, and I think one of the things that hurts you also is, outside of Alvin Kamara, nobody really has had that rhythm with that offensive line. Even though you've had Williams there, he hadn't really run behind this number 1 offensive line. Here, you've got to be able to hit it and understand what the situation is. It's goal line. It's going to be tough sled. And at times that defense is going to win, but you've got to be able to understand and know what you're getting from that front. And sometimes it's 1 yard, 2 yards. Those are going to be the best runs. But, you know, it's been too many times that we've seen guys hesitate and not know where that hole is going to be.
We saw Gilsey got stuffed on 1st and 10. That's Jonathan Williams getting stuffed on the 2nd down. And, Scott, this is the team's longest run of the day and the only run that went north of 10 yards. Kamara was able to break this one for 18 yards.
Yeah, they're playing against a good defensive front. I know Greg Williams is huge on defensive gap responsibility. Guys being in their gap. Stay in your gap and make somebody beat you physically by missing a tackle. And Kamara makes a lot of people miss. But it's just, like Deuce said, it's a consistency. And remember, this team didn't find their running image, per se, until after the 2nd, 3rd, 4th week last year. So it took them a while to find that image. Everybody thinks of the Buffalo game last year where they just turned around and handed the ball off and they were just steamrolling the Buffalo Bills. It might take a game like that for these guys to get that identity and that confidence back.
One thing I enjoy about doing this program over the years is that we've built up a history of following you guys analyze, and you have been big on Mark Ingram in terms of analyzing what he does. You got 2 weeks left before Mark Ingram comes back, but I know over the years you've critiqued Ingram about being able to bounce. You wanted him to go north and south, quit going east and west, and you've kind of broken down his game. With the Saints missing him, is that going back to what you're talking about, these other running backs? Ingram has now figured out the whole when to go left and right, when to go north and south, and these guys just don't have it right now?
Well, you as a running back, you always are able to get on the same page with your offensive lineman, and so they understand and know your running style. And what's unique about him is he can run outside, but also when they go to their power or gap scheme inside, he does a really, really good job of that. And so right now, I think those running backs outside of Alvin Kamara, you know, are just trying to figure out what's my style, what fits best for this system, and they just haven't been able to find it for those other running backs.
And I guess, Scott, to your point, when you get that rhythm going, then you knew Mark was going to bring one direction, Kamara was going to bring another one, then you force the defense to pick your poison as to which one was coming out of the backfield with the ball. We certainly talked about the improvement from the defense from week 1 to Tampa Bay against Tampa Bay to the win today over Cleveland. One of those who talked about it, Marshawn Lattimore, who visited with Mike Neighbors after the game.
Saints defensive back Marshawn Lattimore joins us after the Bucs lost a week ago. You said it was a slap in the face. How much better does this one feel to come back and win a game like this?
It feels great to get a win, but it doesn't feel great when we were that close in the game. You know, we want to win comfortably, but you know we're going to have games where it's close like that. But we got to pick it up. That's basically what I took from the game. We got to pick it up.
It seems like this defense, despite what happened against Tampa, it didn't panic. I heard Dennis Allen say this week, we're not panicking. We're going to make the corrections and move on. And it seems like that's what you did, right?
Of course, because we got dogs. When you got dogs, you got that mentality, then, you know, we not going to panic. You know, we know when you being a dog, you're going to have losses. But you got to get back up. You know, you got to be great. You got to be even better than when you fell down. You know?
One of the dogs is Marcus Williams. Huge play in this game. How big was that for this defense and for this victory?
It was great. We needed that. We was preaching out on the sideline the whole 4th quarter. We need a play. We need to make a play, and he made a play. So, yeah, that's great.
All right. Final question. Moving forward, you go to Atlanta next week. Big game for you guys. What's the mindset? What's the state of this team right now after 2 games moving forward?
We got to get better. That's the mindset. That's why, you know, we don't get the victory Monday this week. You know, we got to get better. We got to get in and work. And like games like this versus a better team, you know, we could have lost. They're not going to let us stick around like that. But, you know, it happens. And we just got to know we got to get better.
So no sentimental feeling. You weren't a big Browns fan growing up. This was just a win, but it wasn't any bigger over hometown Cleveland, huh?
I just knew we had to win. Versus Cleveland, I told him on the sideline, we can't lose to them.
Right. You can't go home after this one, right?
Right. You know, we can't go home after that. But, you know, we won, so, you know, I'm happy that the offense picked it up and the defense picked it up. And shout out to Will Lutz for the game-winning field goal. So, because they don't get enough credit, but shout out to Will Lutz.
This guy got to go back home to Cleveland. Everything's okay. Saints get the victory over the hometown team. Marshawn Lattimore, back to you guys in the studio.
Mike, thank you very much. This morning on Saints Game Day, you saw Mike show you the connections between players from Ohio, specifically The Ohio State University, that are down here wearing the black and gold. But as we talked about, there were players coming into town today wearing the brown and orange of the Cleveland Browns with ties here in Louisiana. And for more on that, we welcome in Eric Ritchie, who has this report as he went behind enemy lines.
Behind enemy lines for us boiled down to a pair of players today. Of course, former Letcher and LSU legend Jarvis Landry and kicker Zane Gonzalez. In a 3-point loss for the Browns, it was 2 missed field goals and 2 missed extra points from Gonzalez that kept the NFL's longest losing streak intact.
I had more than enough opportunities. Let the team down, let the city down, and it's on me. I completely take a full responsibility for it.
And you still had one last chance after you had missed some. What was your thoughts on that last kick attempt?
I hit it straight, line up, and head down, follow through, and push it.
What have your players and Coach Jackson just said? He said that he told you to keep your head up.
Yeah, I mean, they're helping me out as much as I can. Time to keep my head up. Good teammates about it, but at the end of the day, I know I let everybody down, and that's on me.
Saints punter Thomas Morstead rushed over to you, put his arm around you after the game. What did Thomas Morstead say to you?
Yeah, I've known Morstead for a few years. We go to the same kicking coaches, and kind of been like a mentor type guy. He just told me to keep my head up. I'm a great kicker. These days happen. You got to eat them and just move on. I'm not gonna lie about it. Snowballed. I was pulling them, and the last one I just pushed it, overcompensated. But like I said, there's no excuses for it. I get paid to make those kicks, and I have to make them.
Painful way for you guys to lose this one.
Yeah, very. Everybody's playing hard. The effort's there. We're just not really playing as like a good football team right now.
That touchdown pass to Antonio to tie this game. I mean, you were out there running. You saw it. I mean, that was a difference maker. Do you feel like a play like that, you guys should win a game like this?
Yeah, I mean, even before that, obviously, first of all, hell of a catch, hell of a play, big time play. We shouldn't have even been in that position.
As a team leader in this team, Jarvis, what do you say to Zane after his day today?
Make the field goal. Make the field goals.
On the touchdown.
That's it.
You won 2 state championships at this dome, 06, 08. You lose a national championship with LSU, and a tough one here today. Just kind of sum up what it's like to play in the Superdome, being a Letcher guy, being so close to home.
This is a good feeling. I had a lot of emotions definitely in the beginning of the game. Just seeing the crowd, pretty much every time I looked in the stands, I saw somebody I knew. So, it was a really good feeling. Just hate that it ended this way.
Now, as for Browns head coach Hugh Jackson, he was asked about the Josh Gordon situation. The team, of course, announced this weekend they would be parting ways with their star wide receiver this coming week. Jackson said now is not the time to address that situation, but he said that the Josh Gordon factor did not play a part in the Browns' loss. Behind enemy lines, I'm Eric Ritchie for Saints Tonight.
Eric, thanks. And as we talked about this morning, that Josh Gordon story should come to an end sometime Monday if you go by the Browns schedule. They said one way or another they'll either trade him or cut him, and that will be done by tomorrow night. So Taysom Hill, kind of officially listed as a quarterback, but do we call him a field goal blocker? Now we call him a special teams return guy. It looks like the Saints, Deuce, are trying to find anywhere to get him on the field because he's a multitasker.
We would call him Jim Thorpe, right? I mean, what he's been able to do has just been amazing. And this is his first time ever returning a kickoff. I mean, he didn't do it in high school. Obviously, didn't do it in college. And I mean, he is a big man, but I mean, he has been able to make play after play. He almost came up with a block on a punt. So, I mean, it's just been impressive to see him make plays.
And, Scott, I guess at some point, when you got guys who can make plays, you've got to figure out a way that fits them best to get them on the field to allow them a chance to make the play.
Yeah, absolutely. You look at this league and you look at the roster number restriction. It's all about versatility. The more you can do, we always say in locker room, the more you can do, the longer you'll stick around in the NFL. And this guy, he has a great skill set that the Saints are finding a way to use. There's a lot of athletic quarterbacks, a lot of athletic backup quarterbacks around the league. Not a lot of tough guys looking to run down on kickoffs or return kicks. This says a lot about Taysom Hill.
Well, we talked about how big that interception was, but you heard Deuce say earlier, maybe the biggest play is the one you didn't see, Taysom Hill taking that kick out of the end zone and getting the Saints in field position. Mike Neighbors noticed. He talked to Hill after the ball game.
All right, guys, here in the Saints locker room, Taysom Hill joins me. I don't know how to introduce you anymore. Every week it's something new. I guess that keeps this job fun, huh?
Yeah, it does. They always say the more you can do in the NFL, and the roster spots are limited, so the more you can do, it's more job security, and I was excited to have an opportunity to return kicks tonight.
I saw you return a couple, and it was a fair catch, and then you had the big return. When's the last time you've ever done anything like that in a football game?
There is no last time. That was the first time I've ever done anything like that in a game.
How did that come up? I mean, I know Sean Payton's always trying to fit you in there. He told us that was something you worked on in practice. I mean, how long have you been working on returning kicks in practice?
Really, it was this week. we had talked about it briefly last year, and then nothing happened. But this week was the first time that we started doing it again, and we practiced it Thursday, and it looked good, and so we made a change and had an opportunity today.
All right, let me get this straight. You have special teams tackles, you're returning kicks, backup quarterback. Can you clue me in on what's next?
I don't know. Every day is a mystery. You go into the building on Wednesdays and Thursdays, and you kind of see, what's the next thing. But I love it. I love competing. I love being on the field, and any opportunity to get on the field is a plus for me.
All right, Mr. Versatile, Taysom Hill in the Saints locker room. We'll see what happens next. Yeah, back to you guys.
Jason, thanks. Mike, thanks so much. When we come back, Mike continues his conversations outside the Saints locker room, this time talking to Saints quarterback Drew Brees. That's next when we return on Saints Tonight. A lot of things we can look at what's happened in the first two games for the New Orleans Saints, but one thing you can't overlook has been the efficiency, once again, of number 9 under center. What he's been doing with the Saints offense has been spot on. Now, he did have 3 sacks today, all on third downs we talked about, all coming in the second half, but he was able to help lead the team to make enough big plays to get the win over the Browns today, 21-18, and afterwards, as he always does, quarterback Drew Brees sat and talked to Mike Neighbors.
All right, guys, Drew Brees joins us here in the Superdome. A big victory for the Saints. A lot of ways you could describe this win. How would you describe it?
Well, I'll start with the positive, and that is, despite what happened in the first 3.5 quarters, we found a way to win that game, right? Every aspect of the team, offense, defense, special teams, made plays when we needed to make them in order to get us the victory. Now, the first 3 quarters, I know for us offensively, was not pretty. I felt like we left a ton out there, a ton of points. We had chances to. We should have had 20 points minimum going in at halftime. So that's the kind of stuff that, if you don't get corrected, will get you beat. And I think we understand the sense of urgency that we have as an offense just to improve and, fine-tune and find what's going to be our bread and butter. But, listen, I missed some throws out there today that I wish I had back, because I felt like those would have been big play opportunities that it just breaks the game open. Anytime you let a team hang around, it gives them hope, and so I think when we're playing in our building like this, we got our fans, we make those plays. We do it on a consistent basis, those are the things that we need to expect out of ourselves, and that didn't happen today.
You needed a spark late in this game. Let's fast forward to the fourth quarter, because the first 3, obviously not much happened. A lot of action happened, especially in the final 5 minutes. Michael Thomas, 28 catches in the first 2 weeks, sets an NFL record for any receiver. How important is he for you, and how impressed are you with the strides he continues to make?
Well, listen, he's a big play guy, and if you watched him practice, you would know. You basically see everything you see on Sunday is what we see in practice every week. The guy approaches it with such a level of focus and competitiveness and pride. He visualizes himself being in these moments and making these plays, and he knows the confidence I have in him. We put a lot of time on task together, so that when we get out here, we want it to be just second nature, man. So a testament to him, his work ethic in regards to that, and then also the team. Guys have to be. Everybody's got to be doing their job in order to set him up to be able to make the plays that he's making.
A lot of weird things happened in that final 5 minutes. Missed field goals. You made the most of opportunities as a football team. How satisfying is that you guys didn't play your best football, but you come out of here with the victory?
Well, that part I feel like it has to happen at some point during the season, and those are identity builders, those are character builders. That's what brings the team together. And for the young guys or guys that maybe haven't been a part of it as long, it just reemphasizes that belief that, man, we always have a chance, right? There is always hope, that we can pull it together, and, all 3 phases, everybody has a role, and we can get the job done. And that's what we got. We got the job done at the end of the day. We got the win, and that's what's most important.
You started the season 0-2 a year ago. You bounced back. You're not 0-2 this year. You're 1-1. But after 2 games, what do you make of this football team right now?
We have a long way to go. We have a long way to go. There's high expectations, but, man, high expectations around the league. Everybody's got hope right now, So, that, man, each and every time out, it's going to be a battle. And we have to continue to put our best foot forward. It's a race for improvement. It's a race to see who can be the most consistent. And put that out there time and time again on Sundays. And so I think for us as a team, we still have to establish that. Good that we got the win in the way that we got it fourth quarter today. I think that will pay dividends as we go forward. But, man, it is a race for improvement right now.
Got to ask you about the quarterback room. You have a guy, Taysom Hill, who, is a backup quarterback, but he's catching kicks and returning them. And he tells me it's the first time he's ever done that. Does this guy amaze you week in and week out? He just does something different every week.
He's pretty unreal. What I love is, listen, I think Taysom Hill's going to be a quarterback in this league at some point and be a really good one. But the guy is like, hey, whatever I can do to help the team. And it's like, well, you're a big, strong dude, so why don't you go out there and cover kicks? Hey, why don't you rush on field goal? Hey, while we're at it, why don't we have you return some kicks? So it's pretty amazing when you just take his skill set, but then more so his desire and his willingness just to do whatever he can do to help this team. There's not a guy that I respect more, that our team respects more than Taysom.
I want to take you behind the curtain a little bit. I get to talk to Drew after every game, but this year there's a new dynamic. We also have the new voice of the Saints. He does a one-on-one with Drew Brees, and it's
no, please.
No. I want you together. I want you together. We have to stand up now, which makes me look very short once again. You have Zach Strief and Drew Brees. They interview each other, or Zach interviews Brees after each game. Tell me how that dynamic works. Is that strange at all?
Well, we just did it one time. It was our first time last week. Kind of broke the seal. It was a little weird. Like, I'm used to O-line dinners, and we're in the locker room, and we're just kind of, and now it's so official.
It's way too professional.
Right?
Way too professional. Yeah, well, I'm sure we'll loosen up eventually.
Yeah.
I got all the hard questions this week, so I'm really going to get after him. It'll be a little bit better. But, yeah, it's a little bit weird. Same deal. I interviewed Sean this week for the first time. I'm like, okay, well, this is also extremely awkward. So, yeah, it's a little weird.
I love the media badge. You got to love that on Zach Strief. I wanted to take you behind the curtain a little bit because we saw it last week. They were laughing. You hear it on the radio, very professional, but this is what you get behind the scenes. For Drew Brees, I appreciate your time.
No problem.
And for Zach Strief, I appreciate you.
Yep, thanks.
All right.
Can I steal him now?
Yeah, back to you guys in the studio.
I'm trying to do some work.
Trying to do some work there for Zach. It's time for my interview. Mike, Zach, Drew, thanks as always. When we come back, we'll take a look around the NFC South, which includes the Saints' next opponent, the Atlanta Falcons. They were hosting the Carolina Panthers. Those highlights are next on CSD. Ryan Fitzpatrick, ladies and gentlemen, is taking over the NFL after what he did in New Orleans in Week 1. He's back at home against the defending Super Bowl champs. How about this? First play from scrimmage finds Deshaun Jackson. 75 yards later, Jackson's going to put a cap on it and get into the end zone. 4 targets for Jackson, 4 receptions for Jackson, 129 yards. More on that stat in just a moment. Second quarter, Philadelphia's Corey Clement at 15 yards. Eagles are on the board. They're going to tie it at 7. Later in the second quarter, Fitzpatrick's back doing it again. This time, O.J. Howard, the former Alabama Crimson Tide tight end. Are you kidding? Watch where this one goes. Across the middle, makes a move, and now he's got an escort. 75 yards later, 2 75-yard touchdown passes for Fitzpatrick. He's not done. Third quarter, he finds Mike Evans for 4 yards. While you watch this highlight, Fitzpatrick, 27 of 33 for 402 yards, 4 touchdowns. So far in 2 games, he has targeted Jackson and Evans 28 times. He's completed 26 of the 28. Tampa Bay wins at 27-21. They host Pittsburgh next Monday night. For the Saints' next opponent, they are headed to Atlanta from the Mercedes-Benz Superdome to the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Atlanta at home taking on Carolina. Second quarter, tied at 3. Cam scrambles. Yikes. This was not good. DeMonte Casey comes down late, leads with the head. Yeah, you're about to have a brawl on this one. And watch as he goes right at Cam Newton, helmet to helmet in the face mask. Casey ejected. Might he be suspended? He's going to get a fine for sure. More to come. Stand by as the Saints will face Atlanta next weekend. So he's gone. Second quarter, 10-3 Panthers. Matt Ryan to rookie Calvin Ridley, the former Alabama Crimson Tide wide receiver. His first touchdown in the NFL. We're tied at 10. Still in the second, Ryan to Austin Hooper. 8 yards on the completion. It's 17-10 Falcons. Fourth quarter, Atlanta's up 24-17, and now they're going to do it on the ground. 3rd and 5 from the 8. Ryan waits. He's going to take it. Look at him. He finds the opening, gets a block, goes airborne. He's into the end zone. 31-17. Falcons are up by 2 touchdowns. Final play of the game now. Carolina's down by 7. They're at the 31. Newton's still in the game. Heaves it up. Hail Mary going for DJ Moore. Boy, he had a shot at it, but he doesn't make the catch. Ryan goes for 272, 2 touchdown passes, 2 touchdown rushing. The first time he's done that in his career. And Atlanta wins at 31-24 to improve to 1-1. So you've got 3 teams all sitting at 1-1, and Tampa Bay sitting there leading the pack as Fitzpatrick has just been on fire in one of the top stories. If it's not Mahomes right now, what he's doing in Kansas City, guys, don't you think it's got to be Ryan Fitzpatrick, what he's doing with Tampa Bay?
Well, you figured that Mahomes had the talent. You didn't figure that Fitzpatrick could do it. If I'm teams, I'm calling about Jameis Winston because I don't know how he gets his jobs back.
That was a big talk in the press box today when we were seeing the updates of what was going on. You don't expect it, certainly, his 14th year, 15th year, and what he's doing, but he's finding those big weapons for Tampa Bay. So you suffer a loss at home to Tampa Bay, which, as we discussed, really could be like a loss and a half. You're in the division, and it's a loss at home. Now you're going on the road to Atlanta, who just got some much-needed confidence with a win in the division against Carolina. Defensively, let's start with you, Scott, on your end of the table. We saw improvement from week 1 to week 2. What's the biggest focus now for the Saints as they go on the road to face Matt Ryan and company?
Well, just that, facing Matt Ryan, who's one of the elite quarterbacks in the league. He's up there in the upper echelon. He's hot and he's cold. You never know what you're going to quite get, but he's a consistent quarterback as far as being a franchise quarterback. He's got shiny pieces around him. He's got some guys to throw to. It's going to be a definite change from what the Saints have seen this past week against Cleveland. Defensively, you're going on the road to play an offensive team that can put up some points, put up some yards, move the ball. So you got to go over there and play with some confidence. And it's a big game. It's a big game for the division, especially since you lost to Tampa Bay already.
And Deuce, you had 2 at home. Now you have 2 on the road, starting with this one in the South. We know Drew Brees. We talked about his numbers. Has been very consistent. Saints certainly need to try some more balance. We know he's had success against the Falcons, but what else does this offense have to do to get the win?
You have to be able to run the ball. I think that's going to be very, very important. And then hold on to the football. You can't go on the road and turn the football over because now it's going to magnify even bigger some of the mistakes that you have. When you look at this Atlanta team, though, they have been banged up. No middle linebacker, no Canu Neal. Both of those guys are out for the year. So from that standpoint, from an injury standpoint, you know that they're going to have some different players. And if Kazee isn't able to go, then who is going to be the backup safety for them? So I'm interested to see how they match up with some of the personnel that they're going to be missing.
So maybe giving us some insights to where the Saints need to look to attack on the field, something we can look forward next week. And it's something we will preview for you next Sunday morning. Don't forget, Saints Game Day kicks off right here at 10:30. Scott and I will be in the studio. Our Saints insider Mike Neighbors will join us from Atlanta to preview the game. Following the game and at the end of Sundays, we wrap up week 3. Join us back here for Saints Tonight. Deuce will visit with Mike from Atlanta, and Scott and I will be here to recap it all for you. Until then, we thank you for joining us. From the Dome, for Mike Neighbors and Eric Ritchie, Scott Shanley, Deuce McAllister, I'm Victor Howell. Good night from all of us at CST.